So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Why the iPhone XR is still good in 2023. Now, you can find the Apple iPhone XR for right around $200 now, and that's going to be in pretty good condition with 256 gig storage. If you want to go even lower in lower conditions, you're going to find this in the $100 range. Now, this phone started around $750, so I mean, that's a $500-$600 savings already. The phone is from 2018. It's quite old, but at the same time, Apple makes devices that still run very well even when they're older. And there's a lot of reasons why the iPhone XR is still a decent option if you don't want to get an Android phone, because a lot of what's carried over into the 14 has just been iterative updates over this one, evolutionary updates, nothing groundbreakingly different. Let's begin with the first thing we're going to talk about, and that's the build. Apple still employs a aluminum body on the newer iPhone 14 as well as glass backs. Same thing on the XR. You do have yourself a single camera, and don't get it wrong, I'm not trying to convince you, for those of you watching the video who have newer phones, to go back to some old phone. I'm making this video for those of you who basically are looking for an Android phone or something, and maybe you're thinking you want an iPhone, but it's a little too high. You don't want to get on a carrier plan. You just want to buy it outright, or maybe a backup phone. This can be a solid option for you, and here's why. Now, you can see right here also, they both have 6.1 inch screens. They're, in addition, both 60 hertz. So when scrolling through, it feels like no difference. And this kind of really shows that Apple's kind of not really changed up a ton. They don't really have to because the phone's very popular, but they haven't changed up a ton over these phones. They squared off the body and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that if I put my SIM card in an iPhone XR today, the majority of what I'm going to have to do on my phone will get done in the same fashion as an iPhone 14 easily. I can do all the same applications. I can use the same iMessage. I'm using essentially the same software. The iPhone XR is still updated to the latest and greatest version of iOS 16.3.1. In addition to that, it still feels comfortable in the hand. The only thing I would say is definitely a step back is the camera, but the camera is not bad. It's just a step back from the current model. It still takes a very sharp picture overall, and while you're not going to be printing these pictures, you can still do 4K 60 video. So you can still do pro-like video, provided you have a third-party camera app where you can change your own things like white balance and stuff like that, which you can download for this phone. You'll have a great time. You can still edit photos, you can still edit videos on here. It still does this plenty well as well. So the XR is no slouch in the performance department, even though this phone is still using a CPU from years ago. This just goes to show that iPhones have been overpowered for quite some time, and that the average person is not going to use them to their full extent. You can see an Apple A12 Bionic at 2.49 gigahertz. And while this is only rocking 3 gigabytes of RAM, 3 gigabytes of RAM is enough, I would say, for an iPhone like this. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the battery life with this phone. While this doesn't have the largest battery out there, you can still get through a full day provided the person hasn't drained the battery health too much on this phone. Making sure the capacity is in the 90s, you should be able to get through pretty much a full day. Now, one thing, this phone does heat up a little bit more than it used to. You'll feel the heat a little bit more than before. Put on a case though, that kind of goes away. You don't really feel it anymore. And it has a little bit of a thicker feel to it, but that kind of gives it a substantial feel overall. So yeah, and I think Apple is going to do away with maybe the silent switch this year. So some of these things will start to look dated, but a lot of colors, still a beautiful looking phone here in 2023, even though this phone is only going to cost you a couple $100. So that's pretty good as well. So yeah, battery life, definitely solid at 2942 milliamp hour. It'll still make it through the day. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is just the overall feel of using it day to day with the performance. Now, I can run games on here just fine, but I've noticed that it will definitely make me have to wait a little bit to load these things up. And when I do run games or push it, I do, like I said earlier, I feel the heat a little bit more, specifically when gaming. That's like the main thing, and this drains the battery a little faster, but you can just see how long it'll take to load something like a game by comparison to a 14, which would load that a lot faster. So I'm going to say if you're going to use this as a gaming phone, this is not a great choice, but just want an iPhone to use as a casual day-to-day phone, you can still get by with an iPhone XR in 2023. And the thing is if you take a look at some of my older videos back in the day when we were covering iPhone 5S, stuff like that, I mean, after that got old, it was kind of really slow and lame. Now, these phones still run like, not like new, but they still run super smooth even though they're 5 years old. It's pretty insane. And I think this doesn't really prove that the iPhone XR is worth buying. It kind of proves that newer iPhones need to do something a little bit more. And the Pro models definitely do. I'm not saying the Pro models don't, but I want to see some bigger changes to the standard models like an iPhone 14 right here, getting maybe a little bit different feel to it. Yeah, we got the squared body, but overall, you know, OLED display, yeah, very nice. This doesn't have an OLED display, but I just want to see something maybe like an all screen, just something that really takes this whole kind of philosophy to the next level, just a different feel overall. You know, they did enough with the square to make it feel different, but you know what I mean? Something that's like when they went to the iPhone 10, like that was huge. iPhone XR is still solid. Now, I will say the front-facing camera on here is 7 megapixels, and you could definitely notice it's not as good as like an iPhone 11 or something like that, but an iPhone 11 is going to cost you $200 more. The camera still looks pretty solid. It's a little too close to the face on video, and you can't do 4K on the front. So this will kind of remind you of a budget Android phone when it comes to front-facing video. And you do have only, you know, 5.0 Bluetooth, so no 5.3. Still will connect fast enough. Also, still going to use Lightning like most new iPhones. No USB-C has still come to the iPhone. But here's the thing, you'll still get yourself a Face ID scanner on here, just like the newer iPhone, so that's no different whatsoever. This is only IP67 as well, so it's not the best when it comes to getting it wet, but you know, it can definitely survive. If you drop this in some water, I'm pretty sure it would still survive a while before it would just poop out or just die on you. So definitely very solid. So I have nothing really else to say about the iPhone XR. I covered what I wanted to cover here in this video. I didn't actually do a video on this yet in 2023, so I just wanted to give an update on it. I think these people, like getting these for like $100, $200 and just use them as a backup or a side phone is a pretty good steal. Or if like you're on a budget and you just want to have an iPhone, this is a solid option. I mean, you're getting the experience of iOS at budget prices, like super low compared to when it first came out. So I think it's a decent option. A lot of people are going to get in the comments and say, just go to the iPhone 11. But yeah, if you want to pay another $200, the XR is still solid though. It's pretty insane. We'll have to see if it gets the iOS 17 update later this year. I don't think it will, but if it does, you know, that'll be pretty sweet as well. It'll continue to live on the iPhone XR. So let me know your thoughts about the iPhone XR in 2023. Do you think this is a solid pickup? Do you think it's just played out? The 4G LTE is too old. That screen is weak sauce with the liquid retina LCD. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of this video. Stay tuned for more content. We have many more coming your way. Nick here. Be sure to be well. I'll catch you on the next episode, and peace.